Commander Jack Phillips stood by the large window of the U.S. horizon, looking at the stars. His tall frame was perfectly still as he watched the Vex ship approach. Beside him, Lieutenant Olivia Rice checked data on her tablet, her dark eyes moving quickly across the screen. "They're early," she said quietly. Jack nodded. "They always are. They think it makes us nervous." The Vex were tall, insect-like aliens with hard blue shells. They ruled many star systems and thought they were better than everyone else, especially humans. For 30 years, humans had worked with aliens in the Galactic Concord. 30 years of being called Deathworlders, creatures from a dangerous planet with poisonous air, strong gravity, and deadly animals. 30 years of being careful to speak softly, move slowly, and never show their true strength. "Ambassador Krill is requesting permission to dock," said the ship's eye. "Permission granted," Jack said. He straightened his uniform and put on the diplomatic smile he had practiced for years. "Remember, Lieutenant, we are humble. We are helpful. We are kind." Olivia nodded, but her eyes were hard. "Yes, sir. As always." The Vex delegation entered the meeting room with their usual lack of respect. Ambassador Krill clicked his mandibles loudly as he looked around, his 6 eyes blinking at different times. He did not offer the customary greeting. "Let us begin," Krill said, his translator making his voice sound like stones being crushed. "The Vex Imperium has new requirements for the human colonies near our space." Jack sat patiently as the ambassador listed impossible demands. The Vex wanted 3 human colony planets. They wanted mining rights on 5 more. They wanted human ships to ask permission before traveling through 12 star systems that had always been open to all. When Krill finished, Jack smiled the same gentle smile he always used. "Ambassador, these requests would harm many human families. Perhaps we could discuss a more balanced agreement." Krill made a sound like breaking glass, which the humans knew was Vex laughter. "Balance is for equals, Commander. Earth is a primitive death world. You should be grateful we allow you in space at all." Jack felt his heart rate increase, but his face showed nothing. He had trained for this his whole career. "We will consider your proposals and respond within the standard diplomatic time frame." As the Vex left, Olivia's hand tightened on her tablet until her knuckles were white. "How long will we keep doing this, sir?" Jack didn't answer. He didn't need to. On Earth, Defense Secretary Natalie Walsh walked quickly through the underground halls of the Military Command Center. Soldiers saluted as she passed. Her face was grim as she entered the secure meeting room where Admiral Daniel Carter waited. "Admiral," she said, placing her security badge on the table. "The Vex have crossed the line." Daniel Carter was a large man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. "What happened?" Natalie activated the room's display screen. It showed a planet with green oceans and white clouds. "New Haven Colony. Population 40,000. She touched the screen, and the image changed to show Vex warships in orbit. This was taken 3 hours ago. The Admiral stood up. "They wouldn't dare attack a human colony. They already have." Natalie's voice was tight with controlled anger. 2,000 dead in the first wave. The colony's defenses were minimal. They thought the Vex were coming to talk. Daniel turned away, his large hands forming fists. "We've played this game too long, Natalie. We've been kind. We've been patient. We've let them think we're weak. The President is meeting with the Joint Chiefs now." Natalie walked to the window that looked down on a massive underground hangar. Below them were ships and weapons that no alien species had ever seen. Technology that humanity had been developing in secret for decades. "She's going to activate Protocol Omega." Daniel looked at her sharply. "Are you sure?" "Yes. The order will be official within the hour." Natalie's eyes were cold. 30 years of being nice. 30 years of letting them call us Deathworlders while we smiled and nodded. "And now?" Daniel asked, though he already knew the answer. "Now," said Natalie, They get to find out why. Commander Jack Phillips sat alone in his quarters aboard the U.S. Horizon. The message about New Haven Colony played again on his screen. 2,000 dead. Families. Children. People he had sworn to protect. His hand shook slightly as he turned off the display. For the first time in his 15-year career, he'd allowed himself to feel the full weight of his anger. Humans had become experts at hiding their emotions from alien species who could not understand the depth of human feeling. There was a soft knock at his door. "Enter," he said, his voice carefully controlled. Lieutenant Olivia Reyes stepped inside. Her eyes immediately told him she knew about New Haven. "Sir," she said quietly, "the VEX delegation is requesting another meeting. They say they have urgent news to share." Jack stood up slowly. "I'm sure they do." "Commander," Olivia hesitated. "I just received a private message from Earth Command. It was coded Level Black." Jack looked at her sharply. Level Black meant the highest security clearance. What did it say? Just 4 words. Protocol kindness terminated. Effective immediately. For a moment, neither spoke. They had both trained for this day, hoped it would never come, and yet somehow always knew it would. "Understood," Jack said finally. "Prepare the ship. Full activation of all systems." Olivia nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "Yes, sir. It will be my pleasure." On Earth, President Eleanor Mason stood before the United Earth Government. The large chamber was silent as she approached the podium. Screens around the room showed the attack on New Haven. Smoke rising from buildings. VEX soldiers moving through streets. Human bodies. For 3 decades, she began, her voice strong despite her 60 years. Humanity has been patient. We entered the galactic community with open hands. We traded fairly. We compromised when we could have demanded. We showed kindness when we received none. She paused, looking at each council member. That ends today. The room erupted in shouting. Some council members stood, arguing for continued peace. Others pounded their tables in agreement. President Mason raised her hand, and the room quieted. "The vote has been taken. The decision is made. Admiral Carter, you may proceed." Admiral Daniel Carter stepped forward from the shadows. He activated a control panel, and a massive display lit up behind the president. It showed hundreds of ships hidden throughout human space, inside asteroids, behind moons, within gas giants, ships no alien species knew existed. "Operation Thunderbolt is now active," he announced. "All commanders have their orders." In his laboratory aboard the U.S. Horizon, Dr. Ryan Mitchell watched the alien delegates through hidden cameras. The VEX ambassador was speaking to representatives from 3 other species, the bird-like Avari, the crystalline Folians, and the gaseous Medusan collective. "The humans will surrender New Haven without a fight," Ambassador Krill was saying, his mandibles clicking in amusement. "They always retreat. They have no stomach for conflict." The Avari representative fluffed her feathers. "Are you certain? They are Deathworlders. After all." Krill made his glass-breaking laugh. "Deathworlders who apologize for breathing too loudly. They have been tamed by their own fear of appearing threatening." Dr. Mitchell recorded everything. The evidence of conspiracy would be valuable soon. Very soon. He noticed a change in the ship's background hum. Systems that had been dormant for years were coming online. Hidden weapon platforms were warming up. Shield generators were reaching full power. His communication device beeped with a message from Commander Phillips. "Meeting room. 10 minutes. Bring the evidence." Dr. Mitchell smiled as he gathered his data. He had always been curious how aliens would react when they discovered the truth. When they learned what humans were really capable of. When they understood why Earth was called a death world. As he walked to the meeting room, the ship's AI announced, "All personnel, secure stations for combat protocol." Repeat, secure stations for combat protocol. After 30 years of playing nice, the gloves were finally coming off. The meeting room on the U.S. Horizon had changed. The soft lighting was now bright and harsh. The comfortable chairs had been replaced by military seats. The decorative wall panels had slid away to reveal weapon systems and control stations. Commander Jack Phillips walked in wearing a different uniform. Gone was the loose-fitting diplomatic outfit. Now he wore a tight black combat suit with small devices attached at key points. His posture was different too. He no longer stooped slightly to appear less tall to the aliens. He stood at his full height, straight and imposing. The alien delegates entered the room and stopped in shock. "What is the meaning of this?" Ambassador Krill demanded, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Jack didn't smile this time. "Please be seated, Ambassador, all of you." The aliens looked at each other uncertainly before sitting down. Lieutenant Olivia Reyes and Dr. Ryan Mitchell stood on either side of Jack, both in combat suits. "For decades," Jack began, "you have called humans Deathworlders." It was meant as an insult, a reminder that we come from a planet that you consider hostile and dangerous. He pressed a button, and screens around the room lit up, showing Earth, beautiful but deadly with its high gravity, extreme weather, and predator-filled ecosystems. "What you never understood is that surviving on a death world makes a species strong." Jack's voice was calm, but held a new edge. "Very strong." Dr. Mitchell stepped forward. "We have evidence that the Vex attack on New Haven was planned with the knowledge of the Avari, Tholians, and Medusans." He played the recording from earlier. The aliens shifted uncomfortably as their private conversation about humans being weak filled the room. "This was an act of war," Jack said when the recording finished. "Against a species you fundamentally misunderstood. Across human space, hidden ships were emerging from their secret locations. Massive vessels that had been disguised as small trading ships dropped their holographic covers. Mining stations transformed into military bases. Defensive satellites that had appeared simple and outdated revealed advanced weapon systems. On the colony world of New Haven, Grace Harrison looked out from her hidden basement as Vex soldiers patrolled her street. At 65 years old, with gray hair and a kind face, the aliens had ignored her during their attack. They didn't see her as a threat. Grace opened a hidden panel in her basement wall and removed a metal case. Inside was a combat suit similar to the one Commander Phillips wore. Next to it was a weapon that looked like nothing the Vex had ever seen. She wasn't alone. All across the colony, the helpless human settlers were arming themselves with technology the aliens didn't know existed. In space near Proxima Centauri, Admiral Daniel Carter watched as the Vex battle fleet approached. They had brought 20 large warships against what they thought were 3 small human vessels. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter," he said into his communication system. "Disengage stealth systems. Activate full combat protocols." The 3 human ships suddenly changed. Hidden sections opened, weapons emerged, and energy shields flared to life. But more importantly, 15 more human ships appeared out of nowhere, their advanced cloaking technology deactivated. The Vex fleet commander's transmission came through, his voice containing something humans rarely heard from the arrogant species: fear. "What is this deception? Where did these ships come from?" Admiral Carter's response was simple: Earth. On the U.S. horizon, Ambassador Krill stood up in anger. "You cannot threaten us. The Galactic Concord will not allow it." Lieutenant Olivia Rice laughed. It was the first genuine laugh she had allowed herself in front of aliens. "The Concord exists because we allowed it to. Because we chose to be kind." Jack stepped closer to the Vex ambassador. For the first time, he moved at full human speed, crossing the room faster than the alien could track. He stopped inches from Krill's face. "You asked for the Deathworlders," Jack said quietly. "Now you have us." Vex Commander Zek Toril watched the battle through all 6 of his eyes and could not believe what he was seeing. His mighty warship, the pride of conquest, shook as another blast hit its shields. Alarms rang throughout the bridge. His crew scrambled to respond, their blue shells clicking against metal floors as they moved. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are just humans." His second-in-command looked up from a damage report. "Sir, they're not fighting like humans. Not like the humans we know." On the main screen, a human vessel half the size of the Pride of Conquest moved with impossible speed, firing weapons that cut through Vex shields like they weren't there. 3 Vex ships were already drifting, dead in space. An alert sounded. "Commander, human soldiers have boarded decks 5 through 8. Zek Toril felt fear for the first time in his long military career. "How many?" "Only 20, sir." 20. He relaxed slightly. "We have 200 warriors on those decks." His relief was short-lived. The security feeds showed the human boarders moving through his ship. They weren't moving like the slow, careful humans he was used to seeing. These humans moved faster than his soldiers could aim. They coordinated without speaking. They used their strange, soft bodies to squeeze through spaces a Vex could never fit through. This isn't right," he whispered. "They're Deathworlders, yes, but they've always been so gentle." On New Haven Colony, Grace Harrison checked her old watch. It was time. She tapped a code into her communication device, sending a signal to 200 other colonists hiding throughout the settlement. The Vex had set up their main base in the colony's government building. They thought they were safe behind their guards and security systems. They were wrong. Grace stepped out of her hiding place, walking slowly down the street with a basket of flowers. A Vex patrol approached her. "Elder human," the lead soldier clicked. "Return to your dwelling. It is not safe." Grace smiled kindly. "Oh, I know it's not safe." She dropped the basket. "For you." All across the colony, humans emerged from hiding. Farmers revealed weapons hidden in barns. Teachers pulled combat suits from under classroom floors. Even the children played their part, creating distractions at exactly the right moments. The Vex never stood a chance. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Daniel Carter met with representatives from 15 alien species that had remained neutral in the conflict. They sat in a meeting room aboard his flagship, the Defiance. The alien delegates stared at him with various expressions of shock, fear, and confusion. "You lied to us," said the Novan representative, her crystal skin reflecting blue light. "All these years." Daniel shook his head. "We never lied. We just didn't correct your assumptions." He touched a control, and a hologram of Earth appeared. "Humans evolved on a world that should have killed us," he explained. "Our gravity is 1.5 times stronger than most of your homeworlds. Our atmosphere has oxygen levels that would be toxic to many of you. We have weather that can level cities." He zoomed in to show Earth's wildlife. "We share our planet with predators that can run faster than most of your species. We survived ice ages and asteroids and plagues. Our bodies heal from injuries that would kill any of you." The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. "But most importantly," Daniel continued, "we evolved as pack hunters. We can work together in ways your species find almost magical. We can communicate with just looks and small movements. We can predict each other's actions in combat." The Zentari ambassador, a small green being, leaned forward. "If you are so powerful, why pretend to be weak for 30 years? Daniel's expression softened. "We weren't pretending to be weak, Ambassador. We were trying to be kind." The room fell silent as the aliens finally began to understand. "You see," Daniel said quietly, "the truly terrifying thing about humans isn't that we come from a death world. It's that despite everything our world did to try and kill us, we still developed compassion." President Eleanor Mason stood before the remaining members of the Galactic Concord. The large meeting hall on the neutral planet Centaurus was quiet. Many seats were empty. The Vex and their closest allies had refused to attend. "We do not come seeking destruction," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We ask only 3 things. First, all forces must leave human territories immediately. Second, those responsible for the attack on New Haven must face justice. Third, fair payment must be made to the families who lost loved ones." The alien representatives looked at each other. After seeing what human ships and soldiers could do, many were eager to agree. The Tellarite ambassador, a short furry being, spoke first. The Tellaric Union accepts these terms and offers its deepest apologies for not stopping the Vex aggression sooner. One by one, most species agreed. But the Avari representative, with her bright feathers and sharp eyes, was not convinced. "This show of power is just the beginning, isn't it?" she asked. "You Deathworlders will take over the galaxy now that we know what you can do." President Mason shook her head. "If domination was our goal, we would not have hidden our strength for 30 years. We wanted peace then. We want peace now." Meanwhile, the Vex military leaders gathered on their homeworld of Vexus Prime. Supreme Commander Drathkor looked at the battle reports with growing anger. 6 fleets defeated, 3 colonies lost, thousands of soldiers captured. "This cannot stand," he shouted, pounding his hard fist on the table. "The humans have made fools of us." His generals shifted nervously. One dared to speak. "Perhaps we should consider their terms. They seem reasonable given." "Reasonable?" Drathkor's mandibles clicked rapidly in rage. "Nothing about this is reasonable. We are the Vex Imperium. We do not surrender to soft-skinned creatures from a backwater planet." He activated a holographic display showing a massive weapon in orbit around a distant star. "If we cannot defeat them in battle, we will make them fear us so much they will surrender," Drathkor said. "Prepare the Nova Catalyst." Captain Ben Ramirez led his team through the dark corridors of a Vex space station. His 12 soldiers moved silently, their combat suits allowing them to blend with the shadows. Their mission: find and rescue 50 human hostages taken from New Haven. "Command, this is Strike Team Alpha," Ben whispered into his communication device. "We're approaching the holding cells. 20 guards detected." Lieutenant Olivia Reyes responded from the U.S. horizon. "Copy that, Alpha. You are cleared to proceed. Remember, Ambassador Krill is likely on board. We want him alive if possible." Ben signaled to his team. They moved into position, surrounding the prison area. At his mark, they struck. To the Vex guards, it seemed like the humans appeared from nowhere. The fight was over in seconds. "Too easy," said Sergeant Lisa Kim as she broke open the cell doors. "These bugs talk big, but they've never faced real soldiers before." The rescued colonists looked thin and tired, but their eyes lit up with hope when they saw the human strike team. "You came for us," one man said, his voice breaking. "They told us Earth would abandon us." Ben helped the man stand. "We never leave our people behind." Dr. Ryan Mitchell was working in his lab on the U.S. horizon when his instruments detected something alarming. A massive energy buildup near the Rigel system. "Computer, analyze energy signature," he said quickly. The computer's response was immediate and troubling. "Energy pattern matches theoretical Nova Catalyst weapon. Capable of destabilizing a star's core, causing premature nova." Ryan's face went pale. The Rigel system had billions of inhabitants from 12 different species, none of them involved in the current conflict. "Get me Admiral Carter and Lieutenant Reyes," he said urgently. "The Vex are about to cross a line that cannot be uncrossed." On New Haven, Grace Harrison stood in the colony's main square, now free of Vex soldiers. The colonists had taken back their home with minimal casualties on either side. She looked up at the night sky, wondering what was happening among the stars. Her communication device beeped with an encrypted message from Earth Command. As she read it, her weathered face became serious. More fighting was coming. The Vex were not surrendering. "So be it," she said quietly. "If they want to see what happens when humans really get angry, we'll show them." Admiral Daniel Carter looked at the holographic display showing the Rigel star system. The star pulsed an angry red as the Vex Nova Catalyst began its deadly work. Billions of lives were at risk, most of them innocent civilians from species not involved in the war. "How long do we have?" he asked. Dr. Ryan Mitchell checked his calculations again. 6 hours before the star becomes unstable. Once that happens, Nothing can stop it. The Admiral's face was grim. And our options? We could evacuate some people, but not billions, Ryan said. The only real option is to disable the catalyst before it reaches the critical point. Daniel nodded. Show me the Vex defenses. A hologram changed to show 20 Vex warships surrounding the catalyst. It was their entire remaining fleet, positioned in a defensive formation that would be nearly impossible to break through in time. We need a small, fast team, Daniel said. A direct approach while the main fleet creates a diversion. He turned to his communications officer. Get me the U.S. horizon. I need to speak with Lieutenant Reyes. On the U.S. horizon, Jack Phillips and Olivia Reyes received the message from Admiral Carter. The mission was clear. Lead a small strike force to disable the Nova Catalyst, while the main human fleet engaged the Vex defenders. It's a suicide mission, Olivia said quietly. Jack nodded. Probably. But if we don't try, billions die. Then we try, she said without hesitation. They selected their team carefully. Captain Ben Ramirez and his strike team who had just returned from rescuing the hostages, Dr. Ryan Mitchell, who understood the catalyst technology, and 4 of the best pilots in the fleet. As they prepared to leave, Ambassador Krill, now a prisoner, watched from his cell. You cannot stop the catalyst, he clicked, his voice almost sad. Supreme Commander Drathkor will destroy the entire system rather than admit defeat. Jack stepped close to the cell. Why? Those are innocent people. The ambassador's 6 eyes blinked slowly. Because he fears you now. All Vex do. We never understood what we were dealing with. The small team departed in 3 ships designed for speed and stealth. The main human fleet moved into position, preparing to engage the Vex defenders and create the diversion they needed. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defiance. All ships, this is Admiral Carter. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every innocent life in the Rigel system. Show them what Deathworlders can do when we have something worth fighting for. The human fleet moved forward, weapons charged. The battle began. On Earth, Defense Secretary Natalie Walsh stood with President Eleanor Mason in the Underground Command Center. They watched the battle unfold through real-time communications. If they fail, Natalie said softly, what's our next move? The president's face was tired but determined. If they fail, and billions of innocents die because of Vex cruelty, we will have no choice. Full military response. No more restraint. That would mean. I know what it would mean, Eleanor interrupted. It would mean becoming exactly what they fear we are. Let's pray it doesn't come to that. Lieutenant Olivia Reyes piloted her ship through the chaos of battle. Explosions lit up space around them as the human fleet engaged the Vex defenders. Their small team had slipped through the initial lines, but 3 Vex ships had broken off to pursue them. We've got company, Ben Ramirez called from the weapons station. I see them, Olivia said calmly. Hold on. She pushed the ship into a series of maneuvers that no Vex pilot could match. The human body, evolved on a high-gravity world with complex predators, had reflexes and spatial awareness that gave them advantages in space combat that the aliens were only now beginning to understand. 2 of the pursuing ships collided trying to follow her path. The 3rd kept coming. We're almost in range of the catalyst, Dr. Mitchell reported. But the Vex have activated its defensive systems. Jack Phillips took a deep breath. This is it. No more playing nice. 50 years later, a classroom of alien and human children sat together on Harmony Station, the largest space habitat ever built. Their teacher, an elderly human woman with kind eyes and a strong voice, stood before them. Today, said Grace Harrison, we will learn about the Awakening War. The children looked up with wide eyes. They had heard stories, of course. Every species in the galaxy told tales about those days. Did you really fight the Vex, Teacher Grace? Asked a small Tellarite child. Grace smiled. I did. Many of us did. It was the day everything changed. She activated the classroom display, showing images from 50 years ago. The children saw the Nova Catalyst, a massive machine wrapped around a star. They saw 3 small human ships approaching it through a field of battle. Commander Phillips, Lieutenant Reyes, and their team reached the catalyst, Grace explained. But shutting it down wasn't simple. The Nova process had already begun. The display showed Jack Phillips and Olivia Reyes working desperately inside the massive weapon as the star beneath them grew more unstable by the minute. Dr. Mitchell discovered that the only way to stop the reaction was to create a controlled wormhole to channel the excess energy away from the star, Grace continued. But this required precise calculations and perfect timing from all 3 ships. A young human girl raised her hand. But they saved everyone, right? Grace's face grew serious. Yes, but at great cost. Admiral Carter brought his flagship, the Defiance, to help create the wormhole. The energy was diverted safely, but the Defiance was caught in the gravitational backlash. The display showed the massive flagship being pulled into the distortion field. Admiral Carter's last message was broadcast to every ship and planet in range. Grace said, "He told us, we remained human after all." The classroom was quiet for a moment. On the other side of the station, Commander Jack Phillips, now an old man with white hair, walked slowly through the memorial garden on New Haven Colony. The settlement had been rebuilt, more beautiful than before. Representatives from 20 alien species had come to mark the 50th anniversary of what was now called the Galactic Awakening. A tall Vex approached Jack. Unlike the Vex of the past, this one wore simple civilian clothes with no weapons or armor. "Commander Phillips," the Vex said, his translator making his clicks sound almost gentle. "I am Trellvax, grandson of Ambassador Krill." Jack nodded politely. "My grandfather spoke often of you before he died," Trellvax continued. "He said you taught the Vex the most important lesson in our history." "What lesson was that?" Jack asked. "That true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to protect." In the station's grand hall, Admiral Olivia Reyes, her once dark hair now silver, stood before the first graduating class of the Mixed Species Academy. Human and alien cadets stood at attention, ready to serve together to keep peace in the galaxy. 50 years ago, Olivia began, the galaxy learned what happens when Deathworlders stop being kind. But they also learned something more important, why we chose kindness in the first place. She looked at the young faces before her. Humans are strong because we evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. But we became great because we learned to protect each other. Now we extend that protection to all peaceful species. In Earth's capital, a young diplomat named Sam Carter prepared for his first mission. He was traveling to meet a newly discovered civilization on the edge of known space. As he packed, he placed 2 items carefully in his bag: a standard-issue defense weapon and a book of Earth poetry. His grandfather, Admiral Daniel Carter, had become a legend. His sacrifice had saved billions and changed how the galaxy saw humans forever. Sam looked out the window at the stars. Every species still told stories about the day Deathworlders decided to stop being kind. But they also told stories about what came after, a new era of understanding and respect between all intelligent beings. Sam smiled. Being strong was important. Being kind was essential. The true legacy of humanity was learning when to be which. Sam Carter's ship approached the newly discovered world of Nexus. Through the viewport, he could see its swirling purple clouds and 3 small moons. Scans showed a civilization just beginning to reach for the stars. This would be their first contact with galactic society. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission," his pilot said. The view screen activated, showing a tall, slender being with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Behind it stood others of its kind, looking nervous but curious. "I am Telva, speaker for the Nexari," the being said in its own musical language, which Sam's translator converted. "We welcome you to our world with peaceful intent." Sam smiled. "I am Sam Carter, representative of the United Earth Government, and the Galactic Concord. We also come in peace. The first meetings went well. The Nexari were scientists and artists, eager to learn about the wider galaxy. They showed Sam their cities, their technology, their art. But Sam noticed they seemed afraid of humans specifically. They kept their distance, their skin changing color when he moved too quickly. On the third day, Telva invited Sam to a private meeting. "Ambassador Carter, my people have a question," Telva said carefully. "We have studied the transmissions from other worlds. Many speak of Deathworlders with fear and respect. They tell stories of great power revealed. Are humans these Deathworlders?" Sam nodded slowly. "Yes, Earth is classified as a Deathworld. Our gravity, weather, and wildlife are considered extreme by galactic standards." Telva's skin darkened with worry. "The stories say that 50 years ago, humans revealed great weapons and strength, that you could have conquered the galaxy but chose not to." Sam understood now. He reached into his bag and pulled out his grandfather's Medal of Honor. "My grandfather was Admiral Daniel Carter," he said. "He gave his life to save billions of people, most of them not human. Would you like to hear the true story?" Telva nodded, all four hands clasped together. Sam told the story simply, from the attack on New Haven to the final battle at Rigel. He explained how humanity had hidden their strength, not out of deception, but in hope of peaceful coexistence. "We could have responded differently," Sam finished. "We could have let anger guide us, but that's not who we chose to be." On the other side of the galaxy, a Vex science vessel discovered something unusual near a dead star. A piece of metal, twisted and scorched, but still recognizable as part of a human ship. The Defiance. The Vex scientists brought it aboard with great care. Their captain, Miraven, contacted the nearest human outpost immediately. "This is Captain Miraven of the Vex science vessel Curiosity. We have found remains of the Defiance." Within days, ships from every major species gathered at the location. Old enemies and allies came together to pay respect. On Earth, in the Hall of Nations, President Oliver Wright received the news with quiet solemnity. He had been a child during the Awakening War, but like everyone else, he knew the stories. "Prepare a joint mission," he ordered. "Invite representatives from all species to help recover what can be found." Grace Harrison sat in her garden on New Haven, watching the news of the discovery on her tablet. At 115 years old, she was one of the last survivors of the original conflict. "So they found you, Daniel," she said softly to the sky. After all this time, her great-granddaughter, Amy, sat beside her. "Great-grandma, will you tell me the story again? About the war?" Grace smiled. "It wasn't just a war, little one. It was a revelation. Across the galaxy, humans and aliens worked side by side to recover the remains of the Defiance. Former enemies now stood shoulder to shoulder, tentacle to hand. The monument they would build would not be to victory or defeat, but to a shared understanding reached 50 years before. Every species still told stories about the day Deathworlders decided to stop being kind. But they also told stories about what the Deathworlders taught them, that true strength lies in knowing when to fight, when to forgive, and when to build something new together.